We began to see more and more environmental problems around the globe in the 50s and 60s and going into the 70s. As there was economic growth in countries all around the world, people were taking natural resources and transforming those resources into products that they wanted. And in the process of transforming trees into furniture and homes and so on, you cut down forests. In the process of creating energy, you burn coal to generate electricity, and you put pollutants into the sky. It was commonly believed that the only way to protect the environment was to have the government step in and make up for the mistakes of the marketplace, what was considered market failure. And it was interesting in this period of time, almost every economics book that dealt with environmental issues was under the impression that the source of environmental degradation, environmental problems in the world, was basically the profit system. That people and businessmen and corporations and their desire to make profits at the lowest possible cost to themselves, they would create pollutants and then they would dump these pollutants into the skies, into the rivers and so on.
Oh, good afternoon, Hans Gunther. Thanks for joining us. Sterling falling on that news. Is this negative for the pound?
Well, I would say so. Obviously, it pays now to be a bearer on sterling. But if you look at the decision of the Bank of England, then only I can congratulate it for this decision, simply because too many people had been too carried away of what happened here. People got the impression that there would be a V-shaped economic recovery, not really recognizing that that is down to an inventory adjustment and to fiscal spending. So what this is going to signal us is that there's a continuation of very easy monetary conditions. When you look at what the market was pricing in before this decision has been announced, 150 basis point rate hikes by the Bank of England within 12 months. Obviously, that needs to be priced out of the exchange rate, and it confirms my bearish view on sterling.
Okay, so what's your forecast, Hans? Because we've hit 170, we're at a 9-month high, and many are saying sterling will go higher, but you're bearish. How low and how fast?
Well, I guess that today is definitely going to be a sharp down day. And we have to make a plausibility test. Basically, sterling had been driven higher by the correlation between bank stocks and sterling itself. So there was a mechanical approach that did lead sterling into overvalued levels. The plausibility test I would make is fiscal authorities are now responsible for 48% of GDP. We have seen last year or the years before, that consumer spending was the main driver of economic growth, but the consumer is indebted. So who is going to take it? It needs to be the corporate sector to keep this economy afloat. Because there's very little domestic demand to expect, it needs to be done via higher net exports, and for that, the UK does need a very competitive exchange rate.
Hans Gunther Rediker from BNP Paribas, thanks very much for joining us. We've got John Greenwood, we've got David Scammell here as well. John, you're
Hi, I'm Dave, proud owner of a working peach orchard and big-time supporter of promoting tourism. So, why does a peach farmer care about tourism? Well, let me tell you a little story about John and Jane.
Hi.
They thought it would be nice to take a vacation. John had ideas, and Jane had ideas. But as they talked, they couldn't decide where to go. They knew their perfect place was out there, they just had to find it. Jane flipped through magazines. John started noticing the vacation ads on TV. On his way to work, John saw billboards and heard radio ads.
Mostly sunny skies.
And once he got there, he talked to his friends about where they spent their vacations. Jane did some research on the internet, visiting different websites to see which places had what they were looking for. After seeing all their options, John and Jane came to the same conclusion.
We found the perfect place.
They were so excited, they started to plan their trip right away. After booking their flights, John was eager to line up some things to do in the perfect place. So he visited the Perfect Place's website, watched a video, checked out the hotels, bought tickets to a ball game, and signed up for the Perfect Place's e-newsletter especially for visitors. Jane called the toll-free number and spoke to a nice lady who told her everything she needed to know about the Perfect Place. Jane also got the visitor's guide, which helped her learn what theater productions were in town, where to eat, and other things to do in the Perfect Place. So, John and Jane had explored their options, booked their travel, and planned their vacation. They packed their bags and off they went. End of story, right? Actually, this is where the real story begins, because what do you think John and Jane do when they get to the Perfect Place? Guess what? They spend their money. They spend their money on their rental car, in their hotel, seeing the attractions, enjoying outdoor activities, shopping, and dining out. They're happy they came to the Perfect Place. Woohoo! You know who else is happy? The hotel they stayed in, of course, and the bellman at the hotel, the workers at the local company that supplies his uniform, the stores they shop at, and the banks they use. And then there's the restaurant where John and Jane ate dinner, and the waitress who served them their wine? She's happy too. So's the local vineyard that grew the grapes that made the wine, the people who bottled it, and the drivers who brought it into town. And the peach farmer who supplied the peaches for the cobbler that the waitress served John and Jane for dessert. That's why someone like me cares about tourism in somewhere like the Perfect Place. Yes, I'm a farmer, but I'm also a businessman, and I can draw a lot of conclusions from that story. I bet you can too. Tourism creates jobs. It brings in spending. And tourists pay taxes, which means locals pay less. But tourism is competitive, and without the marketing engine that drives it, people like John and Jane will take their money to some other destination, where it'll benefit some other local economy. Let's make sure our local economy grows. Let's feed it, nurture it, help it along, so it becomes strong, healthy, and delicious. Tourism is vital to us, like oranges to Florida, cars to Michigan, or wine to Napa. Without marketing funding, many visitors will find the perfect place somewhere else. Tourism pays for everyone.